Hello, this is lesson 6.4, and it's about the properties of rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. Our objective is to define and classify special types of parallelograms. Rectangles, rhombuses, and squares are all parallelograms, which means all their sides are parallel, or they have two pairs of parallel sides. And we're also going to look at the diagonals of those shapes. The parallelograms in the box here have basic properties about their sides and angles that help identify them. The diagonals of these parallelograms also have certain properties. So here's three types of parallelograms. Rhombus just means all the sides are the same length. It has four congruent sides. If that is true, it'll always be true that you have a pair of parallel sides here and another pair of parallel sides here. Same with rectangle. The sides, opposite sides of a rectangle, are parallel to each other. And a rectangle specifically has four right angles. A square is a combination of those two. It has four congruent sides and four right angles. And again, you have two pairs of parallel sides. So that's how we classify them, either as rhombuses, rectangles, or squares. Now, here in this problem, there's a symbol that I'd like to point out, is, and that symbol means parallelogram. It isn't quite a rectangle, it's kind of a slanted rectangle, but it is a parallelogram. There are lots of parallelograms that are not rhombus, rectangle, or square. This would be an example. You have parallel sides here and parallel sides here, but it doesn't have four right angles, and the sides aren't all the same length, so it's not a rhombus, rectangle, or square. But that right there is the symbol. So when we read that, it says, is parallelogram ABCD? And that's important because it gives us a piece of information. It tells us that ABCD is a parallelogram. Let's trace it out in our picture. A, B, C, D. Now, when we're looking at A, B, C, D, well, it has a right angle. And if this is a right angle, and it's a parallelogram, then side AD and side BC are parallel, so this will also be a right angle. And side AB and DC are parallel, so these will be right angles down here. So this looks like a rectangle. Now, we should never just trust the picture, but we don't have enough information here to say that this is a square. So we can say a rectangle, and that is correct. It's possible that it's a square, but we don't have enough information for that. Just going back quickly, you'll notice that a square is a rectangle, and a square is also a rhombus. Saying that it's a square is just more specific. It is not incorrect to say that this is a rectangle, and it's not incorrect to say that it is a rhombus. It is in fact both of those things. It meets the definition for both of them. But if we had to name it, we should use the most specific name we can. And so if we knew it had congruent sides and congruent angles, we would call it a square instead of calling it a rectangle or a rhombus. In this case, we don't know that the sides are congruent, so the most specific thing we can say about it is that it is a rectangle. And the explanation is what I've told you. It has four right angles, and we don't know that the four sides are congruent. Looking at that same picture, there is an inner shape, EFGH, EFGH, and they tell you two of those sides are congruent. And your job is to explain if this shape is a rhombus, rectangle, square, and tell us why. There'll be a few slides on a chance for you to write your answer out to that question.